actually 4 weeks in a row because our Lucas race is the week after Phoenix.
Are you looking for comprehensive solutions for your performance and automotive needs? Straight Line Performance and Automotive is a full-service auto repair shop specializing in race car fabrication, electrical design, chassis setup and alignment. Located in Hamden, Connecticut, they also specialize in aftermarket high performance and chassis upgrades. Be sure to look them up on Facebook at www.facebook.com/straightline, STR8LINE, Performance, &Automotive, or give them a call at 203-415-5316. Welcome, racers and fans, to your weekly dose of all things sportsman drag racing. This is Racers News Network Live, presented to you by Straight Line Performance and Automotive. Your hosts, Chris and Pete, bring you the latest news and interviews in the world of sportsman drag racing, including bracket racing, association races, outlaw, and no-time events. They are live every Monday night, right here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take it away, boys.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Racers News Network Live. We are going to be talking a little pro stock motorcycle racing tonight with Angie McBride from NHRA Pro Stock Bike class. Joining me also is also my buddy, Jerron Settles, the Flying Airbrush. How are you, Jerron?
Good to see you, Chris. Doing good.
You too. How's everything down in the great state of Florida? Did you manage to duck the tornadoes?
Yeah, it was about 40 miles or maybe 50 miles south of me, but we just got some winds, a little bit of rain, but yeah, we were good. Hopefully everybody's down there is good, though. It was pretty scary.
Nice. Yeah, congrats. Hopefully everybody made it out all right. And well, below me, anyways, is our guest for this evening. Of course, I'm talking about Angie McBride. Good evening, Angie. Thank you for coming on Racers News Network Live.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm actually Angie Smith now. I got married, but I didn't ever change my name, like email and stuff. So,
well, yeah, I was laughing at that too because I know Larry McBride is your other father.
He's my adopted dad. Everybody thought he was my dad, so he adopted me. So
yeah, for sure, yeah.
So, like I said, we're going to be talking some pro stock motorcycle racing tonight. So go ahead, Jerron, do your thing.
Well, cool, Angie. Good to have you on here. And it's the off season. You guys had a pretty good year last year with your husband Matt winning the championship. I know that most of the time you guys spend the off season trying to find horsepower, building new stuff, maybe new bikes or upgrading stuff. Tell us a little bit about that because so many fans don't understand what building horsepower is. And of course, you can't tell us any speed secrets, but what does that kind of consist of?
It consists of a lot of things. We have in our shop, we have a chassis dyno, we have an engine dyno, and we have a flow bench. So what it consists of is taking all these things to the next level. You try to determine before the season's over, where you need to focus your time on, if it's cylinder head work, if it's camshaft design, if it's, just reliability. I know the last couple of years we've worked on reliability of our motors, and it's really paid off because I don't think we hurt one single motor last year. So,
wow, impressive.
Sometimes you got to do, the work like that to focus on reliability to, help you in the long run. And, this year it's consistent of, we're just trying to find horsepower. Matt is in the developmental stages of building a Suzuki. So he's, building another motorcycle. And because he thinks that the Suzukis have a lot of horsepower because they approved a new 4-valve head.
Sure.
So he wanted to build one to see what he can do with the 4-valve. We're still working on our V-twin program. We've been working on it for, a couple of weeks now. We've got some new parts in, and we should have them on the dyno probably in a couple of weeks. Actually, we are packing up on Monday and going testing. Well, we're packing up on Sunday and we're going testing in Bradenton, Florida on Monday and Tuesday. So, we're just going to make some laps and try some new stuff on the track. And, sometimes we test on the track, sometimes we test on the dyno. So it depends on what you're testing.
For sure. I know one of the things like you hit on is consistency and also making power. One thing you guys are not short of is power, because I remember something exciting that happened to you in 2020, and that was getting in the Denso 200 mile per hour club, which was pretty cool. Tell us a little bit about how that came about.
Well, it was really awesome because, there was only, I think there was only 3 members at the time, and Scotty got in Indy when he qualified number 1. And, so I was kind of like the last person on my team, and I was like, it looks bad if I'm not in there, just saying. So, and I knew we had it in the bike, and I knew we just had to put everything together. And, going, I can't remember what we raced before Dallas because that was the COVID year and it was crazy. But anyway, yeah. So the race before Dallas, I think that was the St. Louis race where it was mine shaft conditions, and then they cut the race short. And so, because we all thought we were going 200 at St. Louis, and then they were like, okay, y'all can't race. And so we were bummed about that. So we get to Dallas, and typically we don't run 200 miles an hour at Dallas just because it's usually not, usually it's a little warm there.
Right. Yeah.
So we usually don't go 200 mile an hour at Dallas. So, it kind of wasn't on my radar. And usually I'm that person that asks Matt before we go up for Q1, what's out there? What do we need to shoot for? I kind of always have that conversation. Well, I don't know what happened. Something happened at that race, and I don't know if we were doing a motor swap or something happened chaotic. And so I didn't get to have my normal conversation with Matt. And so we go up to the starting line, and, I just do my normal routine like I always do. And when I was in the shutdown and I turned around the corner, like Chris Bostic and a couple other riders were like giving me the heck yeah, girl. And like,
wow.
And when they told me I went 200, I went nuts because, that was kind of one of it's the last milestone in our class, in our lifetime.
Sure.
And I wanted to put my name in the record books for that reason, and because my sponsor sponsored the whole club. So I thought it was very important that I put my name in that book. So I did. And it was really funny because I went 680 with a 9. And when I ran that run at 200 miles an hour, I went to the number 1 spot. Well, then my husband pinned me by thou. He went 680 with an 8. And I wasn't mad. He was like, I let you go I got 200. Yeah. So I was a little easier on him at that point.
Yeah, for sure. So. Yeah, that is cool. I mean, because, in all the clubs that have been around for years in different classes, there's not many teams that have their whole team in that, whether it's 2-car team in Pro Stock or something in the 6-second club or whatever. So that's really cool that the entire team got in. I was there at Indy for Scotty's run, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's good. So you guys mentioned going to testing in Bradenton. Again, what I like to do with this platform is kind of, give people information about what they may not know about the pros. The pros are always so star-studded. Everybody thinks it's just, all bells and whistles and, stardom and everything. So testing, I know some pro stock teams drive the wheels off the cars, some fuel teams the same way. What will the test session consist of? Like, do you guys have a number of runs you want to make, 10 runs, 20 runs? Are you going to test different motors, things like that?
So,
how long will you stay in Bradenton?
We're going to arrive on Sunday night, and we're going to start testing Monday morning. I am testing, and Gianna Salinas is testing her Suzuki bike.
Okay.
Matt has kind of he's overseeing that whole program this year. So, you know,
Right.
he wants to get her some laps with him being the crew chief and things like that. So he can see, you know, where she needs to focus on and, you know, what things that she's good at. So we're going to do that. And he always is my crew chief and he tunes my bike. So I plan on making, I will probably plan on making probably 8 runs, four runs a day.
Okay.
It's not, we're just going down there to test mainly for her, but we're going to take my bike because at the end of the year, you know, we had not problems like we were breaking parts or something. We had some minor problems that we got worked out for Pomona. And we just want to see it, go to a test session and make sure it's duplicating itself.
Sure.
So we're just going to stick a motor in my bike and I'm not even going to go out there and run half track. I'm only going 8th mile every time just to make sure that the problem we had is fixed, because I think it is. And it's just one of those things you just want to confirm that before you start a whole nother season, because we had this problem probably more than half of the season this
Wow.
past year, and we just caught it. Matt rode my bike at testing in Vegas on the day after Vegas, and he caught it. We couldn't put our finger on it at first, but then we figured out it was something in the front end, and we fixed it. And Pomona, it was a whole different motorcycle to ride. So I'm pretty sure that we got it fixed. I just want, you know, that reassurance.
Sure, for sure. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You guys have teamed up with, I guess, Team Scrappers. I think were they with Underdog last year, maybe?
Yeah. Well, Underdog and Stouffer were doing their whole program, and Underdog and Stouffer are staying with them. They're still going to be working on the bikes and things like that. Matt is just going to manage the team, be the crew chief. They did put fuel injection on their bike, and Matt is really good with fuel injection. So I think that's one of the main reasons why they got Matt and went with Matt's program.
So you mentioned the 4-valve. That was obviously what Steve Johnson, I guess, brought out last year or switched to last year, and even maybe one of the Vance and Hines teams had a 4-valve last year.
So Steve Johnson had a 4-valve. Angel had a 4-valve. Jerry and Karen had 4 valves.
Okay.
And I want to say that's it, but don't hold me to it. But I think so.
But they were all carbureted, or were they fuel injected?
So Steve Johnson runs carburetors. Angel runs fuel injection, and Jerry and Karen run fuel injection as well.
Okay. What do you guys think the advantage is? I mean, obviously, you know, Steve ran fast, had a very good season, but Karen had some good runs, and you know, Jerry was kind of hot and cold. It seemed like the year.
Mm-hmm. Well, anytime you go from 2 valves per cylinder to 4 valves per cylinder, you're giving them more things to take advantage of. We have done a 2-valve head in our shop. It was not a Pro Stock head. It was for a different platform. It was for the Pro Street bikes. And then we've done a 4-valve also. And the difference is about 25 horsepower. So when you get in it, that's a lot. And when you have a motorcycle, that's a lot of horsepower, considering how much we weigh and things like that. That's a lot. So, and they weigh 30 pounds less than we do. So the V twins are 640 and the Suzukis are 610. So when you think of power to weight ratio and things like that, you know, and you're getting 25 extra horsepower, that's a lot.
So that's interesting that you said that, you know, Matt's building one. You know, being kind of an old school NHRA fan and racer, I remember the days when there was nothing but Suzuki's or that style, you know, whatever. And then it went to almost
all V twins.
It was V twins and Steve Johnson and Michael Phillips, basically.
Right. And now it's going all back to Suzuki's. And then it'll maybe, hopefully it'll even out, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. That was gonna be my question. Do you see it going back to a ton of Suzuki's again?
Well, it's going to be a ton of Suzuki's this year, but I'm staying on my V twin as long as I can. You know, I've been racing a V twin for 10 years or 12 years. So I mean, we have 4 V twins, so I mean, we can't just say put it all for sale and scrap that program and start on a new program. Because our V-twin program is, it's tested and tried and true. I mean, it runs fast. I mean, Matt won his 5th championship in
the championship winning formula for sure.
He's won 3 out of 4 championships, and he lost the championship in 19 by I think 20 points. I think something like that was one round of racing. So, we're not scrapping that program for no means.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It was just kind of interesting to kind of notice that trend of, when it went to V-twins. I can tell you, I wasn't a fan of it just because I kind of grew up with the Suzuki Yamaha deal, whatever. And it was like, it was what I found the phenomenon to be as a fan. It was like, wow, the Harleys and the V-twins really sound good. But then I got tired of hearing them, and I wanted to hear Suzuki again, or wanted to hear that different motor.
Inline 4, yeah.
Right, inline 4, yeah. And it was like, now it's almost become annoying now because we've gotten used to the V-twin, the low growl or whatever. It's like, oh, maybe I don't want to hear this again.
Right. It's so funny. It's so funny because everybody always says, like, if I'm racing somebody, like I'm racing a Suzuki or somebody like that, they always say your motorcycles are so loud. They say to be beside a V-twin, to be beside them racing them, they say that they're so loud. But like to us, it's just normal. But you can't ever hear the bike in the other lane. So.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So, well, it seems like the excitement's back in pro stock. Not that it really ever left, but there was a time when we saw the Harley team kind of tone down the I'll be a little politically correct. I didn't like the year that they won every freaking thing, but there seems to be a lot more parity now. You've got more teams that are capable of winning the race, and it's not so it makes it more exciting. I mean, as much as a fan wants to see his person win, you don't want to see that person win every race. That just is not going to put fans in the stands. So I like the parity.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we had good parity. I think we had really, really good parity in 2019, 2020. NHRA may have given the Suzukis a little too much because they also, besides the 4-valve head, they gave them gas. They developed a different kind of gas for them. And so I feel like that if they wouldn't have gave them the gas that, and I'm not whining. I'm not a whiner,
Sure.
I'm not trying to be that person, but I feel like they said, okay, here is basically 35 horsepower. Well, now they've put 10 pounds on the Suzuki. So now they're trying to reel them back in I feel like if they wouldn't have gave them the gas, we kind of would have all been kind of the same.
Right.
So it is what it is. I know I know the tech department, they have such a hard job keeping parity. I mean, I wouldn't want their job, but on the other side of that, I don't want to go to the racetrack and get outrun a half a tenth because you don't want to do that. I live and breathe by, I wish that our class was, separated from 800s from top to bottom. I mean, if we were like that, it would be awesome to show up every weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's like pro stock. Mm-hmm. But I kind of see it getting that way. I mean, I think it's headed in the right direction. So that's good. NHR has done a good job with that, and the teams as well have done a great job with that. So, and you're getting 16 bikes, and that's the main thing is you're getting full fields most of the races.
Right. I think we just didn't have. I don't think we had full fields. Maybe one race this year, one or two races this year. And it has a lot to do with, the travel, because as a pro stock motorcycle team, we are the least paid out of all the pros. And then when we have to go back and forth to California, and most of the teams are on the East Coast, and with fuel prices on the rise and the list goes on and on of things on the rise, it gets very, very costly going back and forth, fuel alone. And, we did race for somewhat of a cut, a racer's cut or whatever.
Yeah.
So
it was a prorated first.
Yeah. When you factor all of those things in, there were teams that elected not to go out west. And I think it was simply a money call. We don't need to spend that money. I just think that's what it was.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's been tough on every team, from the sportsman teams right up to Top Fuel. And what do you do about it? There's no real set answer right now. Just hopefully wait for things to kind of. You can't use normal anymore, because normal's probably.
What is normal? What is
normal
that?
doesn't exist anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. What is that?
Yeah. So we talked about some parody. Let's talk about some crazy stuff. The Steve Johnson, Matt Smith rivalry.
Yeah.
We had Steve on last year. Chris, you gotta get your dog some treats.
No, it was mine.
No,
it was
wasn't
mine.
me.
It was
My
mine.
dog's in the other room.
Well, mine are too, but
Yours are just a little bit more vocal than mine.
oh yeah.
That's all right, though.
No, no problem. We had Steve on and we talked to him, and one of the things that I found interesting that he said is, like, I need Matt Smith and Angie Smith. I need those. The sport needs us. He's like, without that, it makes you wonder. I mean, obviously there was some feuding there a little bit, but I don't think, and you can answer this better. I don't think there's really a hatred between you guys. It's just more of a good, clean, fun rivalry. I mean, is it fun for you guys, or is it just annoying at times?
No, it's fun. But people in it, like Steve and Matt, sometimes they take it personally. And
Sure.
When Matt was referring to the hobby racer, he was not meaning it in any kind of derogatory context. He just meant that there's hobby racers, as in people go work a normal job and they race as a hobby. And we are racers that work in our shop every day, and the only thing we do is race, and that is our living. This is what pays our bills and things like that. And that is what he meant by it. But Steve kind of spun it on his own way, and kind of was like, "Oh, well, let's make a media thing out of that," which is fine. But you're gonna have to pick, like, you have to understand that you're going to have fans that side with him, and you're going to have fans that side with us. So
exactly,
it is what it is. And, I think he likes to get under Matt's skin, but those guys and girls out there, they don't know that when you get under his skin, he works harder. He works harder, and he's very determined. He's a determined racer. So.
Yeah. Well, I know racing. I ran 5 or 6 national events last year, and I know Steve a little well than I know you guys, and so I had some conversations with him and other racers in the class, and so I'm not going to divulge any of that conversation, but it seemed like it was both. It seems like Matt gets under Steve's skin, maybe not on purpose or whatever, but it's kind of a back and forth, and I really think it's great for Pro Stock Bike. Like, it should be more of it. Yeah,
it is great for our sport, because they always talk about it. I mean, every time they line up against each other, they always talk about it. And, that's good. It's good to have rivalries. I think we would have more rivalries if they kind of loosen the reins on, what we can say, what we can't say. And, I think if they loosen the reins on that, I think you would have a little bit more rivalry. But, when you have not a spec that you have to say, but when you can say this, but you can't say this, and when you have something like that, and then on top of that, you have sponsors, you really have to tiptoe around what you have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's definitely brought some fun back to the class. And like you said, the main thing is that television is noticing it and helping with it. And that helps with sponsorships. Denzo gets more time on TV, or, everything. So it's cool. But, you definitely have to tiptoe around it. And it's very tough. I mean, it's something that we all wish we could loosen the reins a little bit with everything. I mean, but yeah, it is what it is.
It's kind of like when NASCAR a few years ago kind of said, all right, boys, have at it. And you're obviously, you're in NASCAR country. And then they kind of, like I said, they said, have at it, boys. And then they just all kind of sat back and said, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
They were fist fighting in the pits and on pit road and like spinning cars out and wrecking people intentionally. And they were like, oh, well, maybe not that bad. Yeah.
So what's the future plans as far as long term? Like, obviously said you would possibly get on a Suzuki, but you guys are going to run that deal for a while. I know you guys run a little bit of, I'm not sure if it's IDPA or Man Cup, but do you guys run any of that during the season, or is that just after the season?
Well, we built a Man Cup. We built a bike for Man Cup and for Jason Miller's races, the XDA. We built me a real straight bike, which is it's no wheelie bar, and I think it was 72-inch wheelbase, and there was a lot of things in there. We built it. It's done. It's sitting in the shop, but we never have time to go do it. I mean, Pro Stock takes up so much of our time, so. Yeah. I mean, it's sitting there. So if we ever get a chance, and on top of that, we have conflicting races. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, we like to go and do stuff like that just because it kind of gives us a break from Pro Stock. But there's really no time when you're competing against like the Vance and Huns teams and things like that, multi-million-dollar teams.
Yeah,
you got to work all the time.
It's tough. Yeah,
they make us work harder.
So I don't want to make this a Matt Smith interview, but obviously his wife. Am I wrong? Didn't he start in like IDBA or Pro Star or something like that?
He started in Pro Star. He started in Pro Star, and then he ran. It was a series called the MyRock Series, which is where we actually competed against each other. We both raced Outlaw Pro Street, and I didn't like him, and he had a crush on me. That's what he had a crush on me, and I didn't like it. So we were actually rivalries, kind of. But it took him a long time for him to convince me to go out on a date with him. So a long time.
Yeah, I do remember the MyRock series. I'm pretty sure that was MIR and Rockingham, right? That's who it was. Okay, yeah. So MIR is my home track. So I do remember that. And that's why I remember seeing him there, but I couldn't place if he ran Pro Stock Bike first or MyRock. But yeah, that's cool. And I did not know that you ran MyRock. That's pretty cool. That's very cool. Because that was going to be one of my questions, is how you started in motorcycle. I thought you started in Pro Stock motorcycle, to be honest with you.
I started at the MyRock series. I raced Outlaw Pro Street, which was no wheelie bar, 75-inch wheelbase, nitrous class, and actually won a championship in that class. And I did really well. I was one of the only girls to ever race that class, and the only girl to ever win a race and win a championship in that class. So,
yeah, if I remember correctly, that was like the pro mod of motorcycles. Those were the wild, crazy. Yeah, that's what I thought.
No wheelie bars, nitrous, crazy. They'd wheelie. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's cool. So you're a certified badass. That's pretty cool.
I mean, I try to be sometimes.
So now we know that. Go ahead.
In an article that I read about you, Angie, I went straight to bikes. I mean, I knew there were cars out there, but I was very narrow-minded, as in I wanted to race motorcycles because that was, I guess, more dangerous, and my parents wouldn't approve of it.
Yes. I had to keep it from my parents for a long time.
Wow.
I bought a bike against my parents' will, against it, and then they kind of was like, "You're selling it. You're getting rid of it." After I finally did tell them, and I was like, "No, I'm not. That's just not what it's going to be." And then everything else is history. And my daddy was my biggest fan, and so it's just it was awesome. Like, it turned into a career, and a very blessed career. And I couldn't think of anything else I would rather be doing in my life right now.
For sure. So did you have, kind of Pro Stock bike dreams, or because at that time, like, Pro Stock bike it's always been popular, but it seemed like there's a huge following that came from Pro Star, went to IDBA, MyRock, and XDA, and Man Cup. Like, because those guys, I know a good number of them, they have no intentions of running Pro Stock motorcycles. So is that something that was on the radar for you, or no?
It really didn't come on the radar for me until I started winning in Outlaw Pro Street, because you always want to go to the next level. You always want to be in the most elite that you can. And Pro Stock motorcycle is the elite class. It is the best of the best. You want to go and see how really good you are. And so that's why I wanted to go race Pro Stock. And I do know a lot of those people that say I would never go race pro stock.
Yeah,
They would if they was given the opportunity and they said, okay, you need to show up this time. You're gonna ride this bike, and if you can do it, you can go pro stock racing. I will bet 9.9 out of 10 will do it. We'll be there. They'll show up. They'll ride the bike and sign up.
Yeah. No, that's you're right. That's what a lot of things, you know, when people don't think they have a shot, it's like, oh, I would never do that. I don't do that. No, you would do it.
Right.
Sure.
You would.
Yeah. I'm just wondering. So were you running pro stock bike before you and Matt, or is that how you kind of got into it?
No, I actually raced 2 events, I think, in 04 and 05. And then I took a hiatus. I actually raced for George for 1 race, George Bryce at Star Racing. And then things didn't work out. And then so I went back and raced Outlaw Pro Street. And then Matt was like, hey, come, I'm gonna have a second bike in 2008. This was in 2007. Hey, come and test one of my bikes. And you know, I was like, oh, I don't want to. I didn't. This is exactly what I said. I don't even like you. Why would I want to ride your bike?
So great.
But I did. So you'll learn this about me. As long as you stay around me, I'm very forward. I say whatever. And so then he convinced me. He was like, just come ride the bike and let me see if you can do it. So then I went down there and I did ride the bike and I did really well. And then he needed a date to the banquet. And I was like, you don't need a date to the banquet. You want me to come. But anyway, and he was like, well, I've already bought you a plane ticket. I was like, you've not bought me a plane ticket. And he was like, I have. Check your email. And I really checked my email and it was really already there. And so I was like, God, I really have to go now. So I went, and it was kind of after that, you know, we were kind of inseparable after that. So.
I love the persistence. That's cool.
Oh, he was persistent for sure.
Good job, Matt. Good job. Yeah. Oh, cool. That is great. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's you know, everybody loves those stories, and the fact that you know, that's how it happened is very, very cool. So yeah. So I know Matt has bracket raced a little bit. Have you ever done any bracket racing in a car, like driven a dragster?
I've never bracket raced. I'm waiting on everybody to go, what? I've never bracket raced ever. So when I raced Outlaw Pro Street, which is the first real, so I was started on like your Friday night test and tune. And then I was like, hey, I want to go racing. So the first bike I built was the Outlaw Pro Street, which is a heads up class. So I've been racing heads up my whole life. And so I kind of wish that I would have started bracket racing like in my earlier years, but no, I've never bracket raced. And Matt had a super comp car. For like 2 years. Sadie drove it more than he drove it. Yeah. So, and I was going to drive that, but we were going to, you know, he was going to have to get foot pedals for me because I'm so short leg. I have short legs. So, we were going to do that, and then we just ran out of time, and then he sold it. And then, so here I am again. I have tested a pro stock car. A lot of people don't know that. I have tested a pro stock car, but other than that, I've never bracket raced. I've never been in a super comp car. I've always wanted to drive like a rail or something like that. So here we are.
You know what? We have Pinky out on the West Coast. You'll have to come out and you can fit in it. We'll get you in a super comp ride at Vegas or something like that.
Right. We should.
For sure. So that's good. It's so funny how, you know, everybody has a different story, a different way they got there. And, you know, I think Dale Worsham is one of the guys that he's only ever driven a funny car. He's never driven. Yeah. Dale Worsham started at 16 in a nitro funny car and has never driven anything else.
That's awesome. I never knew that.
Yeah. And, you know, it's just so crazy that, you know, same thing, you've only ever, you know, heads up race, which
raced heads up. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. So that's good. Chris, do you have any questions from people in the audience?
Not from the audience. I do have a hello for you though. From Aaron Williams. He said hi. Hi. You just want to say hi. That's all. I do have a question though, and everybody's kind of suffering through this now post COVID craziness. Sponsorship. Is it harder now than it was even just a couple of years ago before everything went to hell in a handbasket?
I will say it probably is. However, we have been so fortunate with having Denzo and Mark Stockseth and Greg Butcher Truckin and Lucas Oil and everybody that helps us, that we had all of those before COVID and our deals were not affected at all. So I will say it probably is. I think 2020 was probably one of those years that they didn't know companies didn't know whether to spend money or not to spend money because they didn't know when the world was going to turn around. So I would say probably sponsorship is more challenging, but I will say this, like from a sponsorship standpoint and from a driver standpoint, you have to be unique. And that is one of the things with sponsorship that a lot of people, you know, I don't know that they don't understand or they don't, or whatever. You have to think, what is unique? Why am I unique from Angel and Karen and all of these other people? You have to make your story. You have to make it unique, and you got to make them want to purchase what you have, what social media and all, because if they can get the same thing from me to Karen to Angel to everybody else, then it's like, well, then you get in a bargain race. Who's ever is going to give me the better deal? So you got to have a story. You got to have social media. Social media is so important right now. In this day and time, if you don't do social media, you're behind. Yeah, we'll say that. And I just think that it's about what you want to get out of it, but you got to work hard for it. It's not about sitting down at a computer and writing a 10-page proposal. It's not about that. I got the Denzo deal of being at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, asking about the right product. It was just right place at the right time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm actively seeking or working right now with Sadie and Kelly and doing some things to try to get some funding. And it's, people don't understand, like that's what I've focused on as my story is how I'm different from everyone else and things like that. And what I've noticed really about a lot of people that look for seek funding and can't get it or don't get to that point, they don't understand what you have to offer, or even the work that's put into it. And everybody just wants somebody to give them money. Well, what are you going to do for them? And the same thing with social media. Like you said, I will admit I'm very late getting on the social media bandwagon as far as sponsorship things. So I haven't worked on followers and things like that, but I have worked on it, and the little bit I've done, it's certainly helped. So yeah, but like you said, a lot of times it's being in the right place at the right time. I know a lot of the smaller sponsorships I've got, like a PRI, is not at PRI, it's at the dinner table after PRI.
Exactly.
Forming those friendships, forming those relationships, and seeing those people noticing that you're just a good person. We want to be involved with you because we like you. So that's one thing I try to tell people, that it's not all about just the money.
Yeah, it's number one thing is how you carry yourself when people don't know, when other people that are seeking out people like us, when we don't know that they're there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
You have to be able to do interviews. You have to be able to do all that stuff. And like, if somebody's a multi-millionaire and you don't know them, and you treat them just as well as you do the guy that's standing there at the ropes waiting on an autograph, it's just being at the right place at the right time.
Yep, for sure.
Taylor Nobile was a guest on our show last week. Mm-hmm. She's married to, I don't know if you know Taylor or not.
Yes.
Okay. She uttered basically the exact same words that you just said in regards to sponsorship.
Oh yeah, it's very true. It's a tough market. You got to be able to handle the 150 no's, and then you'll get one yes.
Yep.
It's one of those things. And then and the most important thing is after you get the sponsor, you got to keep them happy. You can't slack off. You can't say, well, I have a sponsor, I don't have to do that anymore. You have to keep doing what you're doing. And I mean, sometimes you even have to do more and more. I mean, this is a good example. I got an email from Lisa at Denso. I guess I got it about a week and a half ago, that she wanted me to do a video. And one of the people that work in the Denso facility in Texas, which he's pretty high up down there. His son's in Boy Scouts, and they are getting ready to have the Pinewood Derby competition for Boy Scouts. And she wanted us to send them a video. And Matt, it was me and Matt together. And actually Matt was in Boy Scouts, so, he done some of the talking as well. Just how it relates to racing and how kids need to have good sportsmanship and things like that. Us doing that for them, for all of those kids, and them showing it to 400, 500, 600 kids, all their parents are there watching.
It's huge.
It's about making a good impression.
Yep.
Doing little things like that takes 10 minutes out of your day, makes a long lasting impression on 500, 600, 700 people.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that you just have to be willing to do.
Right. And you never know who might be sitting in the audience and go, I like the gig they got going.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get in touch with them.
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right.
So you guys, Gainesville's gonna be the first race, I'm sure, on the Camping World Tour. That's kind of been the for you guys, for Pro Stock Motorcycle, it's kind of been that way for a long time. I know the air there is sometimes different. So I don't, without getting, divulging tune-ups, but are there wholesale changes with the Pro Stock Motorcycle teams going from track to track, or are they kind of close? I mean, obviously Denver, you guys don't go to Denver.
Obviously Denver is a lot.
Or you guys do run Denver. I forgot you guys run Denver.
We do. But Denver we have to run a totally different setup.
Right.
Now, minus Denver, it's a sprocket change, a transmission ratio here and there. Okay. It's minor changes. Of course, fuel, of course, timing, things like that. Mine shaft conditions, you can throw it all at it, but sometimes if you don't have a good starting line, you can't throw it all at it. So it's just kind of one of those things. Gainesville's always one of those tracks that's usually pretty good on the starting line. You usually have really, really good air, and you usually start the season out going pretty fast.
So let me ask you, with that being said, do you guys like the 3 qualifying sessions or the 4? Because it seems like you kind of have to nail it, so to speak, so with only 3 now.
Yeah. Well, so the reason why they took 1 qualifying session away is to save us money.
Sure. Financially, yep.
Financially. But this is my opinion and my philosophy on it. It's either 2 or 4. Because you're not saving us any money, because I still have to bring personnel in. I still have to fly them in a day early. I still have to pay for hotel rooms. I still have to do all that stuff. So 1 run versus not running 1 run, it doesn't pay for itself. So you either need to do 2 or 4. So the 3 is kind of, to me, I think it's pointless, but that's my opinion. I think the 2 was great. And the reason why 2 was good for us is because you have 2 different types of teams in Pro Stock Motorcycle. I feel like you have the teams that creep up on the tune-up, and you have the teams that go out the gate, right out the door. You're trying to go number 1. And Matt Smith, my husband, my crew chief, he throws everything at it the first pass. So unless it's iffy on the starting line, now he'll back it up a little bit, but
sure. Like
I will say, in 2020, when we only had 2 qualifying sessions, I don't know how many times he was number one because I quit counting. I don't even keep up with it anymore. But it's just we did better because a lot of the teams are the opposite of us because we throw it all at it and then we back up and punt if it doesn't work, and we'll put a safe tune-up in for Q2, where other teams are safe on the first pass and then they kind of get after it second pass. So
yeah, see, that's kind of was wondering because you kind of hear the debate about that, especially when they used to have the night session when it was like, well, you can only get in on the night session basically,
right?
But now that's really only at maybe one or two races, that's never hurt you to kind of like, because my thing is with two, it seems like I would be scared to death,
nervous. Yeah, you are. You are.
Yeah. So the three doesn't. To me, the three still seems kind of nervous to me for a situation. But you guys, it doesn't bother you.
It doesn't bother me because I feel like 1 out of 3 passes, I'm gonna get down the track. Right. Hopefully, I mean, now if you have 2 sessions and you haven't got in, now I would be nervous going into the 3rd session. Yeah. I will say I don't think that happened to me at all this year. So thank God, and I was good on that. And another thing, we try to every time our truck and trailer goes home, we go through the motors and stuff like that. So right. I feel like when we pull in the racetrack for Q1, that our stuff is 150% prepared.
Right.
We've had more time to go through everything on our motors and go through everything on our chassis. And it's not that it's not prepared at the track because it's prepared just the same. It's just little things like switches and stuff like that. You've had more time to go over every single detail on the motorcycle when it comes to the shop. And so I feel like when on Q1, I feel like those are your odds are a lot better of something not going wrong.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So yeah, you can kind of go in there with a lot more confidence because right. of the way you're preparing it. Sure. I got you. So as far as race day tune up, or basically with you guys having 3 bikes, do you guys try and play the ladder a little bit? Obviously you don't want to run Matt, second round. You're not going to run first round more than likely, but does 3 help or hurt with trying to play the ladder?
Oh, Pomona was interesting. Didn't you watch Pomona?
Yeah, I was there.
Pomona, I didn't make a full pass until the last qualifying session because what we were trying to do was Matt be number 1 because I think we had such a short field that whoever was number 1 got a bye to the final.
Right.
And we had already looked all this stuff up ahead of time because so we were trying to get Matt number 1.
Right. Not to cut you off, but Steve was still leading at that point, right? Or coming into Pomona, right? Or had you guys taken the lead at Vegas?
I
thought he was still leading after Vegas, but maybe not.
He was. I think he was.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
I think Matt took the lead, and then he was second by less than a round, and Angel was third by 1 round.
I know it was very, very tight. Yeah.
It was tight. So what we were trying to do was get Matt to be number 1. So me and Scotty, first pass, I went first, second, third gear and shut off. Scotty went 8th mile and shut off. Then second pass, I went 8th mile, shut off, and he went a little bit further and shut off. We were trying to stack the ladder that me and Scotty were on the bottom side of the ladder and Matt was on the top side. Then going into Q3, then we started thinking of all the scenarios. You get to thinking about this stuff and you shouldn't think about this stuff. Really, you shouldn't. So then we were like, well, what if somebody goes around Matt? Then what do we do? And then we had to play all those scenarios. And actually, Karen ended up going around Matt. And then Matt, though Scotty ended up on Karen's side, and then we ended up on the bottom side. Which, in an ideal world, that if it was me and Matt and Scotty all on the same side of the ladder, then there would only been one other person on the side of the ladder, and then he kind of would have had cruised on to the final.
Right. Yeah.
One person. So it didn't work out that way, but the end result was good. So
for sure. Yeah.
Stack the ladder and you can't stack the ladder in pro stock. We try, but Lord, we can't.
I can tell you, it was, to me, I think it was a really exciting battle for the championship last year with Steve. You know, I think it was because at one time it was like people were like, "Oh, Steve's gonna win. It's over with."
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was, you know, he was running good. He had a good, you know, he had a couple, you know, things that, you know, bad luck races, I think, that really hurt him. You know, the very first Vegas, that was probably his race to win, the 4 wides.
Mm-hmm.
He broke in the final. It's like he would have outrun everybody, you know, because you guys had a bad race there. But that's
and you go back and think of all the scenarios. So if Steve's bike would have started in Dallas, the bike wouldn't have started in Dallas.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back and then, you know, from our standpoint, when we've lost championships, we go back and think about all the times of things that happened, and you try to fix those things. Yeah. So, and I'm sure they're working on fixing that stuff. But I mean, you know, Steve had a light. I think he was. So I know that happened at Dallas, and then something happened at Bristol to him. I think he lost first round in Bristol. So, I mean, it's just, gosh, racing's so tough. Yeah. It's so tough. When it's your day, it's your day. I know they say that, but Lord, it has to be your day, and you got to do your job.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I often wonder why we keep doing it, but I can't do anything else.
Right. Look, when you get to hold the trophy, you're like, God, because we all fuss and moan. And I mean, my whole team will tell you this, and it's in joking, but I quit every year about October. Like I'm quitting. I'm not racing anymore. I'm tired. I just want to go and like work a 9 to 5. They're like, what would you do? I was like, I'll get a job somewhere. And I was like, I would just get a job, come home. And then I'm like, I'm still quitting by November. December is kind of like, eh. And then January, I'm like, are we going testing? And they were like, well, I thought you were quitting. I'm like, well, I hadn't quit yet. So
I can tell you mine is even goofier than that. I quit every race. So basically, when the red light doesn't come on, as I'm going up the shutdown area, I'm totally hung my helmet up. I'm never racing again. By the time I make the turn off, I was like, I'll probably race next year. When I get the ticket, I'm like, I wouldn't mind racing next week. And then I get back to the trailer. It's like, I want to race again. So,
yeah. Can we have a redo?
Yeah. So, no, I definitely know those emotions. I actually was quitting after Pomona this year. And then I just announced a new sponsorship and everything for next year. So,
exactly. Yeah. And then people were like, I thought you were quitting.
I got that so much. Yeah, for sure. What you got, Chris?
Question from one of our listeners. How competitive are you and Matt against each other?
Oh, it's bad.
I can tell by the look on your face.
It's bad. I tell everybody this. One of our worst arguments ever, and one of our biggest fights, we wasn't even married yet, was over weed bowling. We got in such a really bad argument over it because we were bowling on the Wii. And he said I was cheating. And I was like, how am I cheating? I'm bowling on a video game. But anyway, we're very competitive. No matter what it is, we're very competitive. And I just feel like you have to have the drive. But I tell him, like, look, you don't have to be competitive. Like certain things, but he's good at everything. And that's what sometimes it's bad because I get mad. I mean, you get mad sometimes because there's those people that are good at everything, and he's one of those people. But I will say, he can't ice skate because we went ice skating, and I told him he sucked at ice skating because I was a much better ice skater than he is.
That's pretty funny. So we got to get Matt some figure skating lessons.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Well, if Pro Stock Bike ever comes back to New England.
I hope so, because I was the last winner.
Yeah.
I was the last winner of the New England Nationals.
Yep. So hopefully, if Pro Stock Bike ever comes back to New England, about 10 minutes from the track is an ice skating rink.
Perfect.
We'll make some phone calls. We'll make some phone calls.
Yes.
We'll make some arrangements, and we'll get it on film.
Yes, let's do it. Because I'm not going to struggle because I did take figure skating lessons as a kid. So I'm pretty good. And he's horrible.
So Angie's ready for the escapades. And Matt's ready for an ice pack on his head, basically.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Cool.
Oh, very cool.
So 3 Denso bikes, and then Gianna on the Team Scrappers with Matt crew chiefing for this year for the 2020.
Nope. We're doing 2 Denso bikes. Scotty's sitting out the year because they're building a house.
Okay.
So two Denso bikes, and Gianna and Jimmy Underdahl is actually racing as well. So Matt is heading up both of the whole entire program. So he's tuning both their bikes.
Okay, that's cool. Jimmy Stan. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's still 4 bikes. So
right, I got you. Yeah. It seemed to be like last year. There was a lot of switching around with Stouffer over here, and this team over here. It's like, wow. So that's kind of cool to see that you guys don't really hate each other. It's only on TV.
Yeah, it's only on TV. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to point out, and I only see you guys do it at Vegas. And I was like, man, they should do that every race where you guys all come back at the same time and wave at the fans. I think I've watched races. I'm not going to name any names, but I've sat in the stands, because most of the time I lose first round. But I'll go watch the pros. And some of the funny car guys or top few guys would come back, and they're in the van, truck, whatever, and they're just like, whatever.
Yeah. You
need to communicate with the fans. And
that's part of it. That's part of your marketing thing.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, if I ever ran pro stock, I would stand on the roof as they pulled the car back, waving to the stands. Do something exciting. And it like I said, I don't know if you guys do it at other tracks, but I noticed at Vegas, it seems like you guys all wait at the bottom end and come back. Yep. That's something you guys talked about doing?
Yeah. So we do that in front of the grandstands. I think St. Louis is one of them. Vegas. We did it at Brainerd one time, but we don't race there anymore. Okay. I'm just drawing a blank right now of what of the tracks that we do it. We do it at several tracks though. The certain tracks that we can't, that the bike pits are where we can get in and out. We have to get it approved through NHRA because at that time Funny Car or Top Fuel's running. So because they don't want us going down the track when they're coming up the track, when they're going down the track or whatever. So we have to. You guys
don't do it at Pomona at the finals. You didn't do it there.
Well, yeah, we do it there. We don't do it all together at Pomona because we have to wait because of at that point everybody's just ready to get through the season, and so they don't let us parade there.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. But that's something that when I first saw it, I was like, wow, that's what it's about. Like they know, because I've talked to so many people, like, back in the IHRA days, they had like the nostalgia funny cars. And I sat in on a meeting with those guys because I was an IHRA sponsor at the time. And I'm like, they were trying, what can we do to bring more fans? And I'm like, you guys should do like long burnouts and dry hops, the old school stuff. And they're like, we're racing for a championship. We can't do that stuff. And I'm like, if there's nobody in the stands to watch you, there is no championship. So to me, fan focus should be number one. Racing should be second, in my opinion. I may be wrong about that, but I just feel like there's no one there to pay the bills.
Right.
It just seems like the pro stock, and I'm not saying, Antron and a lot of those guys, Alexa, they do a good job with it, but all of them should, and
all
it's like.
All of them should. And a lot of them, we all come from the same place. Let me just say that.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh, cool. Chris?
All right, Angie, let's talk sponsors for 2022. What you got?
So we'll have Denso. Everybody at Denso, they'll still be our primary sponsor. We'll have Greg Butcher Trucking on board, Mark and Marshall Stockseth. We have Lucas Oil, CP, Worldwide Barons. Those are our main sponsors that we'll have. And we have just some other product sponsorships as well. We're just going to keep doing what we're going to do and then try to make it number 6 or try to make it number 1.
Number 1, there you go.
Number 1's better, but.
Well, very cool. I really appreciate you taking the time coming on and hanging out with us. It's been an awesome conversation. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
I did.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We'll have to get Matt on one day and get his opinion on some of these topics. I will see you in Gainesville.
Well, come up and say hi. Come over there. Smack me in the back of the head and say, do your job or something.
Yeah, I'll come see you in Gainesville, and then we'll try to talk about maybe getting you in Pinky.
Okay.
And,
perfect.
So yeah, thank you very much, and
right.
It was a pleasure. And good luck in Gainesville. I'll see you there.
All right, thank you. See ya.
All right, Angie Smith, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right, Jerron. I know you got some things to do, so let's hit this real quick, and then you can start packaging up your stuff.
I got a lot of helmets to ship off today or tomorrow. Actually,
first, bear with me. All right, so Make-em was this weekend. I think it was the Make-em in your state, Florida.
Florida, yeah.
Bunch of Tommy Ivo stuff went up on the auction block.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting. I didn't get a chance to watch any of it, and I was pretty upset about that. So I haven't heard any numbers. Do you have any numbers of what that stuff went for?
I do.
I like it.
So his 1976 Dodge Charger funny car went for $66,000.
Wow. That's impressive.
That is. The 1970 TV Tommy Ivo front engine dragster went for $77,000.
So was that the one that was it all-wheel drive? I think so. I thought he had a four-motored.
That was the Buick wagon. Now we're getting to that.
Okay, gotcha. So he had a front-wheel drive dragster.
No, front engine dragster.
Oh, front engine. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Because TV had so much wild stuff.
Yeah, stuff.
Yeah.
1974 Top Fuel dragster, and I think that was one of the, if not the first car that cracked 250 miles an hour in competition.
Really?
Yep. Like I said, 1974 Top Fuel dragster went for $93,500.
That is cool right there. To see that old stuff go for good money. Wow.
Yep. All right. The car you were just asking about, 1981 TV Tommy Ivo 4-engine Buick wagon. Now, I've had the chance to look at this car in my past life. The cool part about it is the two front engines power the front wheels.
That's
two rear engines power the rear wheels.
And it's a station wagon.
And it's got the Buick station wagon body with a luggage rack.
Yeah.
$297,000.
Wow. So do you know, did that go to a private owner or did
I believe it did. I think it came out of a collection and then went. I think most of this stuff
was in a collection.
Was in a collection. I think they've also been at the Peterson Museum.
Yeah.
In LA. One of the things that I remember from when I was a little kid, his 1976 40-foot glass-sided trailer.
Yeah.
The slope trailer, that was like one of the first ones out there. That one also was in Make-em this past weekend. That one for $55,000.
I didn't know that trailer was still around. Wow, I didn't know that. Wow, that's crazy.
Let's see. 1964 Chevy Dos Palmos. The engine was built as front engine dragster. The engine was built by TV Tommy Ivo. Went for $29,700.
Wow.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, the fact that stuff could sit in a museum and then be sold, hopefully, a lot of that stuff goes to a collection or goes to someone that will maybe show it off in the future, because that's I've never gotten a chance to see that trailer or the four-wheel drive car, and in person I've always wanted to see it. So hopefully it doesn't just disappear somewhere.
the trailer he also used for his jet car too.
Oh wow!
I remember that from when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So,
that's crazy.
And if I remember right, the '76 Dodge Charger was on display at one of the national events at New England as well a few years ago. I don't remember if it was the first one or a couple of years ago, whatever, but I'm almost positive that is the car that was on display there.
Wow.
And then I couldn't find the price going for it, but the little red wagon that was on display at Garland's Museum went for a fairly significant amount of money. I don't know exactly what, but I know it went for a lot.
Wow.
And make them as well. There was some talk that wasn't one of the real ones, so whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. Cool.
But like I said, I know you've got some things to do, but I appreciate you coming on.
Not a problem. We are anxiously trying to slow down time because there's only about 4 weeks until Pomona, and I'm not ready. And I've got a lot of stuff I've got to get done. I've got 3 pro helmets to get done for Pomona. I've got 2 more to get ready for Gainesville for different sponsors, and even get my own stuff, ready. So, but we're excited about the season, and it's good to hear that they're going to have the Matt Smith team's going to have 4 bikes next year. That's pretty cool. So that'll help bring Gianna's team up. That team has kind of been a kind of lower tier team, with even when they teamed with Jimmy Underdahl last year to kind of share notes. They still were kind of low tier, but Matt's gonna obviously bring that team up a little bit, and Gianna has the ability. Jimmy Underdahl definitely too, and with Angie fight for a championship, it's going to be a tough season. I don't think it's going to be just 2 riders going for a championship. I think it's going to be a mix of people in the hunt this year. So looking forward to 2022.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The only class that Team Scrappers doesn't have a car in is Field Funny Car and Pro Stock. Is that correct?
Yep.
Pro Stock car.
Pro Stock bike. Yeah, they run Pro Stock bike, A Fuel, and Top Fuel. So yeah.
Think you see Team Scrappers eventually in every class?
It could be. You never know. If I'll have to talk to Mike and see if I can get you in the Team Scrappers Pro Stock car. You'd look good there.
Only if it's got hand controls, man.
We can do that.
Absolutely. All right, Jerron, get on out of here and do your thing, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks for having me. We'll see you guys.
All right, have a great night, Jerron.
You too.
The Flying Airbrush joining us every other week, my buddy. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up for tonight. I really want to thank Angie Smith for coming on and taking time to hang out with us. Next week, it's going to be Division I Super Street Super Gas racer and friend of mine, Kelly Barbado, is going to be joining us. So looking forward to talking to Kelly. I haven't had a conversation with her online in a while. We chat every once in a while, but looking forward to talking to her about racing last year and what's happening this year. So again, thank you, Jerron. Thank you, Angie. Everybody who tuned in, check us out live. We'll be back next Monday night, 7:00. Enjoy your week. If you're where it's snowy and icy, please drive careful. We need you back. Have a great night, everybody.